And now for really why you came, it's my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker. Julie Brown is Senior Vice President and Chief Technology Officer at Universal Display Corporation. UDC is an entrepreneurial company pursuing the research, development, and commercialization of organic light-emitting devices, OLEDs. Under Julie's leadership, UDC is also pursuing the creation of new product concepts based on flexible OLED displays and light sources. And if you want to know what that means, look at your phone. That's what I believe LED is part of. So your phone that pardon? If you have the right phone. Yeah, I got a BlackBerry, unfortunately, so I get yelled at my staff. I don't have the right phone. But if you have your phone, it's got Julie's technology. Julie was nominated to the IEEE Fellow and introduced into the New Jersey Tech Hall of Fame in 2007. She's also authored or co-authored over 750 publications and patents in the field of semiconductor devices, microelectronic mechanical systems, and organic devices, displays, and lighting. She also, which I think is sort of cool, was recognized as one of the 20th brainiest people in New Jersey by an unbiased panel of people who weren't as smart as she was. So, Julie, come on up and let us hear it. Thanks.
That is a lot of fun. Thank you very much for the introduction, and thank you so much for the opportunity to come here and speak with everybody today. What I'd like to start out, it is a little bit of a setup I'm going to do with everybody. Start out by doing a survey. If everybody can pull out their smartphone. And I'm just interested, those of you who have an iPhone, stay seated. Those of you who have a Galaxy Android phone, please stand up. Okay. Well, you are the proud owners of a cell phone. You can sit down now. You are the proud owners of a cell phone whose technology actually started on Princeton University campus, made it all the way through Universal Display Corporation that was started in 1996 as a publicly traded company, all the way into your hand today. So I'm going to take you on a little adventure with me to tell you about our company's inception, a little bit about science and technology, because I can't, I have to get into that. That's my passion. And then I'm going to round it out by really giving you, I hope, a very strong vision for what technology started just a few miles from here and how it's going around the globe and in many, many different applications. It's going to change all of your lives, not just the smartphone, but many, many other things. So let's start in the beginning. So back in 1994, I like to walk, but I have to speak into this. So back in 1994, the founder of our company, his name is Sherwin Seligson, and he read an article, I'm pretty sure was written in US 1. Barbara will have to fact check that for me. But an article was written about a professor in the chemistry department at Princeton University. His name was Mark Thompson. And the founder of our company, Sherwin, really fascinating gentleman. He just celebrated his 80th birthday. He never formally finished high school education. He never went on to college, but he's formed a number of entrepreneurial companies in his life. And UDC, we were lucky for one of his adventures here. Well, he read this article in the local Princeton newspaper about Mark Thompson. And Mark Thompson was talking about splitting water and creating energy that way. And Sherwin just sensed something in this article about Mark that he really liked, he thought, how Mark thought. So he's a small gentleman, and he wandered into the chemistry department back in 1994, wandered down the hallway and knocked on Mark's door and just asked if he could chat with him for a while. And then what happened after that, Sherwin, out of his own personal venture fund, started funding the research of Professor Mark Thompson in the chemistry department and Steve Forrest, who was in the EE department at Princeton at that time. He was really funding them, and this is the fascinating part of my adventure in UDC and what Sherwin's taught me and how we've really developed our company. He was really funding them because he liked how they think. There was nothing tangible there yet for him. There was nothing he was actually buying. He was actually buying the intellectual sponsorship of two professors that he liked how they thought. Within a year after that, these two professors started working on a technology that was invented out of Kodak in the late 1980s. And this technology was taking organic molecules, and I've got a bottle of them here. And so it's literally these crystals, and these are organic molecules. They have a heavy metal atom in the center, like iridium or platinum or palladium. And around the edge of it, if we all go back to our high school chemistry class, remember those little stick figures we used to do with the atoms around? And you had, I don't know, white was for hydrogen and gray was for nitrogen and et cetera, et cetera. That's what these organic molecules are. They're actually molecules, and the center is a metal atom, and around the edge of them we assemble all sorts of different atoms, whether it's hydrogen or carbon or nitrogen. And by assembling those atoms around that heavy metal, it depends what light that molecule emits when we put electrical current through it. So if you remember back when we were all young, we used to play with those glow-in-the-dark frisbees. Well, those are organic molecules that when they get light from the sun, they start glowing and start giving off different colors of light. Well, what this industry is, for those lucky people with those cell phones, what this industry is, and it came out of Princeton University, where Steve Forrest and Mark Thompson, in their great competitive professorial spirit, saw a whole academic research area of organic LEDs, which are called OLEDs. Organic LEDs were being published out there. Department of Energy was sponsoring a lot of government programs, and the technology that was out there, invented by Kodak and a European organization in the United Kingdom called Cambridge Display Technologies, had invented this technology where they identified certain organic molecules that when you hook them up to a battery, they emit light. You take the battery off, they stop emitting light. But these molecules were not very energy efficient. So you pump electricity into it, and only 25% of that electricity comes out as light. So what Mark and Steve did was, and this is really the foundational inventions for our company today, is they figured out how to design that organic, organometallic molecule that in this device we call an organic LED, you hook it up to the wall or hook it up to a battery, and 100% of light comes out. So that is really, really, really fascinating. And that was a basic fundamental invention and a US filed patent in the late 1990s. And I joined UDC actually prior to that invention occurring, and I really joined because I really thought it would be a lot of fun. And one thing that I've learned along the way, and this really is the backbone of how we've done the science and technology, something that Sherwin maybe not explicitly has said to me, but implicitly. If we all remember that childhood story of the bear went over the mountain, does everybody remember that? The bear went over the mountain, and what did the bear see? He saw another mountain, he saw another mountain, and the bear went over the mountain, etc. Well, what Sherwin actually taught all of us, and myself personally, is, yeah, when you're developing high tech, and you're taking science into technology, into volume commercialization across the globe, you have to keep going up and over these mountains. And you're in the valley, and things are tough. You're raising money, you're inventing technology, you're trying to get it to work. But what Sherman taught all of us, and this is probably the most fun to me today, is to see over the next mountain. So as you're going over that first mountain, and then you see the valley you have to go into, I've got to ship to Samsung, I've got to do all these things. He's really trained us as an entrepreneurial company to look over that next mountain. And I really think that is one of the core strengths of Universal Display Corporation today. And one of the mantras or mission when I recruit all my young scientists and engineers to my organization, if I can get them to see over that next mountain and tell me what's coming before I see it, that's just beautiful. That's just beautiful. And that's really what we're trying to do as a company. So back to science and technology. So I've got this little organic molecule. Now within a couple of minutes, I want to teach you how we actually make this organic LED. And the nice thing about it is the science and the invention is all in this organic chemistry. And then how these displays, so for the Galaxy owners, how this flat panel display, actually, if you're sitting next to someone with an iPhone, do you have an iPhone? You have a Galaxy? Pull them out and compare. Russ's looks really bright and brilliant. So,
I love it.
yeah, so this is very bright and brilliant. This is an OLED display, an organic LED display with universal display, yeah, blinding, need your sunglasses. And that's a liquid crystal display, what Apple uses. The key difference here is liquid crystal is white, and you filter the white to get all the colors for the display. The organic LED display is truly emissive from these molecules themselves. So this is an organic LED, so organic, wonderful. and that's a liquid crystal display. And so we get, because it's not superficial light, it's true, innocent light that's coming out of these molecules. So how do we get these molecules, thank you very much, these molecules into this Samsung cell phone product? Well, raising a lot of money. We've raised into our public company well over $250 million to date. We're traded on the NASDAQ. We have about a $1.5 billion market cap today. And so there's 20 years of patience before we became profitable in 2011. So it took us spending and spending money. And what we, though, brought to Samsung back in 2007 is when they started manufacturing them, is this magical organic molecule. So how this molecule gets into this display is these molecules are loaded into, you can think about it using a pot on your stove. They're loaded into a heat source that actually heats these molecules up in these huge vacuum chambers in the manufacturing facilities. And these molecules volatilize, so they go into a vapor. And then when they see a cold surface, this is glass. So your cell phone today is glass. So when these molecules see this cold surface, it's a much bigger piece of glass in Samsung's manufacturing facility. They see this piece of glass, they condense. It's almost as if water boiling in a pot and condensing on the lid. And that's the beauty and simplicity of this technology. These simple, well-designed organic molecules condense on this surface, and we deposit, we call that depositing, we deposit maybe 8 or 10 different molecules. The whole organic LED device is 1/100th the thickness of our typical human hair. So it's less than 1 micron thick. Very, very thin form factor. So really the total thickness, so what Samsung does is they purchase these molecules from us. We do the molecules that emit the light, and they purchase molecules from a number of other chemical companies. They manufacture these displays on glass, and then they cut them up in smaller pieces and they assemble them into cell phones. And what's the beauty of that technology is it is so simple. And that's really another principle of how we develop our science and technology. Simple is the best. And so why does Samsung, our business relationship with Samsung and LG and a number of other manufacturers in Asia who use this technology today, we have 2 pieces to our business model. So there's a lot of technology, a lot of business, and a lot of people involved here. So we license our patents to Samsung that we licensed from Princeton University. So Universal Display Corporation, we have a patent portfolio of about 3,300 or so US patents today and globally. So we license that patent portfolio to Samsung, but we also deliver them something tangible. So, you know, there's many companies in the US that are pure patent licensing companies. Our company went the route of saying, yes, we have the ideas for you. You need to use our ideas, but we're also going to deliver you some sort of tangible value. And so we've been in commercial business with Samsung now since 2007 under that patent licensing agreement, and with a number of Asian companies worldwide, they're looking to use this technology. So what else can we do with this technology? And I'm just going to pass this around so people, if it works, people get an idea before I go off of the OLED. This is a very, very big OLED that's sitting in your cell phone there. And you can play around with this, and you can see how when you're putting the battery on and you're flowing electrical current through those organic films, you're getting a beautiful light emission. I'd also ask you to touch it. So that touch, it's not a trick, it's not a trick. That touch, though, is the value of UDC. That's our intellectual ownership. We bring 100% energy efficiency to Samsung. So if you had an LED or an organic LED that wasn't made from our molecules, that'd be pretty warm when you touched it, because a lot of electricity going in is coming out as heat and not as light. So what else can we do with this technology? Probably one of the most fascinating things now is, so we've got this industry, very big industry now. Actually, those of you guys who track Samsung and Apple's sort of corporate discussions, I would say, in all of the newspapers over the last couple of years, this is a big battlefield, this smartphone market. And there's a lot of discussions going on. So Apple, as we know, is a high-end design company. So is Samsung. As consumers right now, what's going to draw us to buy the next smartphone? Samsung last year, I think they sold more Galaxy phones than Apple sold iPhones. So that's from our technology, maybe, in part, the beautiful display. But what else is going to keep us as consumers wanting to buy the next smartphone?